This is a reading of The Everything Guide to Migraines by Katie Schneider in New York Magazine, June 2018 issue. Under-researched and often dismissed, migraines have made their sufferers a resourceful bunch, but a promising new drug may finally offer relief. To be clear, a migraine is not a headache, and people with migraines don't like their condition to be called one. It's not that headaches aren't a part of a migraine, they are. But a headache is a single symptom of a multifaceted neurological disease, one that includes loss of vision, nausea, and sensitivity to light, sound, and smell. And those are just the common side effects. Some sufferers find themselves yawning compulsively, slurring their speech, and losing sensation on one side of their bodies. Some migrainers, yes, that is the technically accurate moniker for migraine sufferers, start seeing big things as small, a side effect of Alice in Wonderland syndrome by doctors. Nonetheless, for as long as they have existed, migraines have been trivialized as headaches or dismissed altogether, which is clear when you look at the treatments available. Almost every drug used between 1550 BC and today has been a repurposed one. Poultices of opium and honey, BOTOX, antidepressants, drugs whose efficacy was not intended but stumbled upon, triptan, a class of vessel constrictors created to abort, not prevent, attacks at their onset, was released in 1991 and has been the only class of drug created specifically for migraines. That is until now. On May 17th, a preventative drug called Aimovig, 30 years in the making, gained FDA approval. It's a monthly shot that modulates patients' levels of CGRP, a neurotransmitter whose levels rise during migraine attacks. This means that it could be in the hands or arms, it's injectable, of migrainers within a month. That it took until 2018 to produce a drug that could help up to 39 million people in the United States alone was also owing to a long-standing misunderstanding of what happens in a person's body during a migraine attack, says neurologist Dr. Peter Godsby. Until the advancement of imaging technology in the 1990s, migraines were invisible. But it also has to do with the fact that women most commonly inherit the disease. 1 in 4 women will experience migraines in their lives, 3 times as many as men, likely because hormonal fluctuations are a major migraine trigger. The lack of research throughout the 20th century, says Dr. Alexander Moskop, is because people then and now underestimated migraines. They thought it was a disease of hysterical, neurotic women. Only 3 hours are spent on headaches during the 4 years of medical school. Less than 1% of the National Institute of Health's annual budget is dedicated to migraine research, $14 million, some 36 cents per sufferer. The medical community has now effectively responded with a preventative, targeted treatment. And that's incredibly good, but long overdue news to migrainers everywhere. Still, there's work to be done. Many doctors still believe it's a stress-related problem, says Moskop. It's a brain disorder, period, and it's important people think of it that way. Me and my migraines, what they feel like and how I cope. When I'm at work. Sometimes I'm typing an email and half my computer screen disappears, just like that, in a split second. There's a protocol to follow. I reach for an Axert pill in my change purse and swallow it. Then I walk to my office's wellness room, which has a recliner chair. I set a timer for 45 minutes, shut off the lights, and try to will myself to sleep. My right temple begins to pang, and I'm struck with nausea. I won't open my eyes. If I do, the whole room will be flooded with bubbling, zigzaggy shapes. The aura peaks at 30 minutes, and by 45 minutes is usually gone. When I step out of the dark room, the light is blinding. I get on the Uptown 1 train to my parents' apartment and plug my ears. Taking a cab would be quieter, but during migraines, my car sickness becomes unbearable. Once I got in a lift with the migraine, utterly racked with headache and nausea, I got out and vomited in a trash can. At my parents', I nap for 2 hours. When I wake, the headache is improved. I sulk around and eat a sleeve of crackers. I crave salt after a migraine. My doctor tells me it has something to do with my exhausted adrenal glands. When I'm sleeping. Sometimes I dream that I have a migraine, and then I wake up and realize the dream is real. Half my vision is swallowed, and my right temple is throbbing, which means I'm at least 30 minutes into the episode. To abort a migraine, you have to take your medication in the first 5 minutes. My window is gone. I fish for my medicine, though I know it won't work. The light is filtering through the windows, and I take half a Benadryl to help me fall back to sleep quicker. If the pain is too piercing, I'll boil a pot of water and stick a washcloth in it until it's scorching hot and put it over my eyes. I try to fall back asleep under the damp rag. If I'm lucky, when my alarm goes off, my vision will have been restored and my headache reduced to a dull throb. But sometimes I wake up and am just sick. I throw up when the light flashes through my blinds. The headache lodges itself in my temple, so I stay home from work and nap. When I'm driving. In high school, I drove a half hour to school every day. Sometimes I'd merge onto the 4-lane freeway and realize, well, I can't see the freeway. When I'm driving and get a migraine, I jostle for my pills with my right hand and drive with my left. If the aura takes over quickly and I'm far from where I'm going, I'll pull into a rest station and roll my seat all the way back and lie in silence until my vision returns. If I'm close to home, I keep driving. I won't merge. I stay in the right lane and drive slowly, though the cars are halved and the trees are halved and the whole of my vision is crossed with pesky, quivering lines of white light. So who gets migraines? 1 in 4 women will experience migraines in their lives, some 28 million women in the U.S. alone. 6% of men have migraines, as do 10% of children. Episodes have been reported in children as young as 18 months, and they're highly genetic. 90% of all sufferers have a family history of migraines. Is it a basilar migraine or just a tension headache? Distinguishing between a migraine and a headache is simple. If the pain is on one side of your head and comes with nausea, that's likely a migraine. During a migraine, the trigeminal nerve responsible for feeling in the face is stimulated, which releases neurotransmitters including CGRP, inflaming blood vessels. Headaches are primarily caused by the tightening of the muscles in the neck and head. Below, a sampling of the variously awful subcategories. Migraines. Migraine without aura, a collection of symptoms including nausea, a throbbing pain on one side of the head, and sensitivity to light. Basilar migraines. With these, the aura presents as dizziness and double vision. Hemiplegic migraine, a rare type of migraine whose aura resembles a stroke, weakness on one side of the body, and slurred speech. Vestibular migraine. Often appearing without headaches, symptoms include dizziness, balance problems, and intense motion sickness. Headaches. Tension-type headaches. The most common type of headache, they generally feel like having a tight band around the skull. Cluster headaches. The most painful kind of headache. They recur daily for up to 6 weeks, a cluster period, each lasting about 30 minutes to an hour. People say the pain feels like a hot poker in the head. Ice pick headaches. It's unclear what causes these seconds-long piercing headaches, but they tend to feel like a jolt of pain around the eye or temple. Thunderclap headache. Headache that strikes suddenly, like, as the name suggests, a clap of thunder. These headaches are rare, painful, and can be accompanied by fever and changes in speech. A migrainer's medicine cabinet of curiosities. The new preventative medication works only for patients with frequent migraines, so here the seizure meds, antidepressants, and cold cans of Coke that other sufferers have long been forced to turn to. I get 5 migraines a week, and though it makes me tired and forgetful, I've been taking Topamax, a seizure medication, every day. At the onset of my attacks, I take Maxalt, a triptan, and Cambia, an anti-inflammatory from the 70s. Lily Weinberg, migraine without aura. I take 60 milligrams of the antidepressant nortriptyline in the morning and 360 milligrams of the blood pressure medication verapamil at night. I do 200 milligrams of vitamin B2 twice a day and also take a daily pill of turmeric, which has anti-inflammatory properties. Grace Gold, chronic migraine. My last major migraine episode made me lose feeling in my entire body for 2 weeks. I was hospitalized for a month, and when I got out, I went on Trokendi, an anticonvulsive medication that worked for me. Maya Robinson, hemiplegic migraine. Once, during one of the worst migraines I've ever had, I took 2 Tylenols and shotgunned a freezing cold Coke. I swear I felt 98% better in 10 minutes. I was wide awake after that, but since the pain was dulled, I was able to relax. Amy Petala, migraine without aura. I self-inject sumatriptan, a version of triptans, at home at the onset of my migraines. They hurt to inject, and the side effects are strange. A racy, hard, and metallic taste in my mouth, but sumatriptan works fast and furious in this form. Kathleen Edwards, a migraine without aura. I take an ibuprofen suppository that has to be created specifically by my pharmacy. If I try taking any pills, I throw up. It's 500 milligrams and torpedo-shaped. Ethan Radin Silverstein, migraine with aura. I take gabapentin, a seizure medication, daily, and when I get a migraine, I take a triptan with coffee and Advil and try to pass out before I start throwing up. I used to take a blood pressure medication, but it didn't work. Zoe Reduns, migraine without aura. I used to get 4 migraines a month. Then I got my diath, my inner ear, pierced, which I had heard helped. I got it done 2 years ago and have only gotten about 15 migraines since. Grace Noe, migraine with aura. BOTOX also helps. William Binder is the Beverly Hills plastic surgeon who figured that out. In the early 90s, I was doing one of the first clinical trials on BOTOX for wrinkles. Many of the women in the trial told me, "Bill, my headaches are gone." My intellectual curiosity kicked in. In 1992, I decided to do a small trial in my office with migraine sufferers to test the theory. I couldn't believe the results. 55 patients over 2 years all had reduced migraine days. No side effects. In 1997, I presented my data to Allergan, the pharmaceutical company that manufactures BOTOX, and a couple of big-time neurologists who thought it was ridiculous. But you couldn't argue with the results. Now the drug is approved in over 40 countries. But even today, lots of neurologists feel disenfranchised because a Beverly Hills plastic surgeon discovered a remedy for migraines. Now, finally, an official way to prevent migraines. It took 30 years, now it's here. The news that the first drug created to prevent migraines has been approved by the FDA was announced late on recent Thursday evening. And the migraine community, those who've long relied on vitamins, repurposed drugs, and Eastern medicine, or some combination thereof, to manage their symptoms, was thrilled. Cautiously. "I cried," says Wendy L., a longtime migraine sufferer, but only a couple of tears because I didn't want to trigger a migraine. The drug takes the form of a single shot composed of a specially created antibody that targets a neurotransmitter called CGRP, whose level spikes in the patients in the midst of a migraine. The injections modulate patients' CGRP levels to prevent attacks from happening instead of treating them once they've already begun, like triptans do. The trials have been successful. In one, patients with an average of 8 monthly migraines found their episodes reduced by almost half only 4 months in. So why did it take 30 years? For one, because back in the 80s, when researchers Peter Godsby and Lars Edvinsson initially discovered the relationship between CGRP and migraines, the medical community believed incorrectly that a neurotransmitter called substance P was responsible for migraine pain. Our research was regarded as, well, sort of nice, but not terribly important, says Godsby. Still, Godsby and Edvinsson forged ahead, and in 2004 they oversaw the development of a drug that blocks CGRP. It was tested in patients that year, said Edvinsson, and was found to have fabulous effects. Only then did the drug industry and everyone else change focus. A final hurdle came in 2009 once the drug had gotten to phase 3 of testing for FDA approval. 13 patients in the 1,200-person trial were found to have elevated liver enzyme counts. The trial was terminated and the drug companies were forced to start from scratch, which they did. The liver issue was sidestepped. They changed the chemical structure of it, says Edvinsson, and the drug made it, once again, to stage 3 and then on to approval. That it works so well continues to amaze Edvinsson and Godsby both. "I've had patients who have gotten a single treatment and then didn't get any more migraines," said Godsby. "And then we saw them after 6 months, 12 months, and still nothing. Plus," he adds, "the drug is taken monthly in a single shot and has no side effects. Another positive for patients accustomed to weight gain from antidepressants, forgetfulness from anticonvulsants, or the plain discomfort of receiving 31 shots of BOTOX in the head." Since 2013, 4 companies have been jockeying to get their versions of the medicine on the market. Amgen and Novartis got it first. Lilly, Teva, and Alder are expected to announce FDA approval for theirs in the new year. The issue is now accessibility. The first version of the drug is expensive, $6,900 annually, $575 per treatment. The others are likely to be priced similarly, and it's still unclear whether insurers will pay. "The process has been complicated," says Godsby, "but the drug is simple. It's the first time we have a migraine preventative for migraine patients, and it works, and it's really well tolerated. There's no penalty in taking it. You get better, that's it." And someone who's already tried it. "I started the trial in 2014. I found out about it through a friend who is a research nurse. I've been getting daily severe headaches essentially since I was 9 years old. They're hereditary. My grandfather was actually triptaned which means he had holes drilled in his skull. I just had to resign from my job at the Parks and Recreation Department, which I loved because my migraines got too bad. I tried everything for them. I'd had a hysterectomy because my migraines were so severe around my period. I was going to the ER twice a month for an IV infusion for the pain and nausea. Then I did BOTOX, beta blockers, antidepressants, all the anti-seizure medications. Nothing worked. The triptans I took as needed did help reduce the migraines, but they caused rebound headaches. The first trial I got into was a double-blind, so I didn't know if I was actually getting the medicine. I was feeling a little better, but I was also very hopeful. After the finish, I got into a second trial. This was not double-blind. I knew I was getting the medication, 70 milligrams, which is a relatively low dose. That's when I started feeling better. My migraines decreased about 20% after that first month, which when you're getting daily migraines is an incredibly substantial amount. I was still having severe migraines, still going to the ER for infusions, but far less often. I auditioned for a play at a local theater. I could get out of bed. I have a text thread with some fellow migraine sufferers, and when the news came out, I just began shaking with joy. We've all had so much false hope over the years and have been through so much. We are tentative, but excited. Elizabeth Robert Siebel. This has been a reading of The Everything Guide to Migraines in the June issue of New York Magazine by Katie Schneider. This reading has been brought to you by Women First OBGYN, your premier health and wellness center in the Hampton Roads, Chesapeake, Virginia area. Women First will soon be offering BOTOX and other derma fillers. Since the new migraine medication is going to be $6,900 a year, and it's not for sure that insurance companies are going to pay, please consider, if you're a migraine sufferer, making a consultation appointment for BOTOX at Women's First. It works, and it's considerably cheaper. Thank you for listening.